city of Atlanta has been really persistent about addressing transportation concerns.
In fact, MARTA is now overhauling its paratransit service for riders with disabilities. Starting in March, MARTA will officially launch a new on-demand service named MARTA Reach. Riders gain access to real-time vehicle tracking, easier trip planning, and the option to book trips 15 to 30 minutes ahead of time. MARTA just reached a deal with Canada-based RideCo to supply 35 ADA accessible vans, improving accessibility for riders with mobility needs.